The giant Napoleon fish, Calenus undulatus, also known as the Napoleon parrotfish, is one of the most striking fish in the ocean. They often live in coral reefs in the warm waters of the Pacific and Indian Oceans, especially common around the Maldives, Indonesia and the Southeast Asian seas. This fish is impressive because of its enormous size. An adult can be more than 2 meters long and weigh over 180 kilograms, and its distinctive head that looks like a hat, reminiscent of the hat of Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte, from which this special name comes. Napoleon fish has a long, flat body, large scales, and color changes according to gender and age. Juveniles are usually light green. While adults are dark blue or turquoise with wavy patterns on the face and body. This is a very intelligent, gentle fish, usually living alone or in pairs. Their diet includes crustaceans, starfish, and especially hard-shelled creatures such as snails or clams that they can easily crush with their strong jaws. When cutting Napoleon fish, the chef needs to have skillful techniques to make the most of the precious meat. Fish is cleaned, scales and organs are removed. Use a large knife to cut along the spine from head to tail to separate the two sides of the fillet. Due to the thick bone structure and firm meat, it is necessary to cut across the grain to keep the meat soft and avoid crushing. The head of the fish can be cut separately to cook soup or steam. The body is divided into large blocks to steam or grill, and the belly, where there is a lot of fat, is suitable for sashimi or hot pot dishes. During the cutting process, it is important to keep the knife sharp and operate decisively, avoiding crushing the meat, especially with large fish like Napoleon. The cutting and separating must be done on a wide and firmly fixed cutting board to ensure safety and aesthetics. Fish cutting, especially with large and rare fish like Napoleon fish, is an art that requires delicacy, experience and a deep understanding of the fish's body structure. The chef not only needs to operate accurately, but also needs to understand how to preserve the flavor and freshness of the fish meat in each slice. First of all, knife preparation is extremely important. The knife used to cut fish must be very sharp, with a thin, long blade and regularly sharpened. The most suitable knife is a sashimi knife or a Japanese yanagima knife. Which helps the blade go smoothly through the meat without crushing the tissue structure. In addition, a boning knife, deba, is also used when handling large fish like Napoleon because the bones are very hard and thick. First, fix the fish on the cutting board. With Napoleon fish weighing up to tens of kilograms, the chef must lay the fish on its side, head facing left. Use the left hand to hold the head and shoulder of the fish tightly. And use the right hand to hold the knife and make a deep cut along the spine from the gill to the tail. This is the first cut to separate the meat layer from the backbone. When cutting, the blade should not saw back and forth but go in a continuous, light but decisive line to avoid tearing the meat. The cutter proceeds to separate the fillet. With Napoleon fish, the meat fibers are thin, so they need to be cut into 3 large parts, the upper back. The belly, and the part near the tail. The back is usually firm and fragrant. Used for grilled or pan-fried dishes, the belly is fat and soft. Preferred for sashimi, and the tail is a bit tough, suitable for steamed dishes or soup. When separating the fillet, the knife is inserted close to the backbone. cutting and pulling at the same time, to separate each piece of meat intact. An important skill in cutting fish is to recognize and respect the meat fibers. Fish species has a different grain direction. If cut in the wrong direction, the fish will be lose elasticity and sweetness. With Napoleon fish, the grain runs from head to tail. So when slicing raw, the knife must be at a 45-degree angle to clearly reveal the grain and create a soft feeling when eaten. On the contrary, when preparing for grilling or steaming, you should cut across the grain to maintain toughness and avoid breaking the structure. Cutting sunfish, also known as ocean sunfish, scientific name mola, is a real challenge in the kitchen. Not only because of its huge size but also because of its special body structure. Unlike most other fish, sunfish have a round, flat body, no real tail fin, few bones with extremely thick skin and meat divided into many different layers. Each layer has its own texture and function. To cut and process properly, the chef needs to understand the biological belly up. Then the worker will use a wet towel to wipe off the mucus and blood on the surface to avoid slipping. When working with sunfish, the chef must always maintain strict hygiene, because the thick skin contains a lot of collagen and mucus that can easily dirty the cutting area. Step. Sunfish skin can be up to 5 centimeters thick, tough like buffalo skin, so a specialized knife with a serrated blade or a large cleaver is needed. The cutter starts with an arc-shaped cut around the head, then cuts along the body to separate the skin into large pieces. This layer of skin is often kept for separate processing because of its high gelatin content, often used for stews or specialty soups. Demonstrating delicacy, precision and absolute respect for the ingredients. Bluefin tuna, also known as is a large fish that can weigh up to hundreds of kilograms. Considered the king of sashimi fish. To cut a tuna the worker not only needs strength but also experience. Hand feeling is the most absolute condition, because each knife stroke directly affects the flavor, texture and value of the fish meat. Starting, the fish is placed on a long cutting table. The fish body must be cooled to 0 to 2 degrees Celsius to ensure the meat is firm and the knife moves smoothly. The worker uses many different types of knives. The duro boccio knives up to more than a meter long to separate large fillets. Deba knives to cut bones and yanagiba knives to cut thin sashimi slices. The structure of bluefin tuna consists of 3 main parts: the belly, otoro, the upper back, chutoro, and the lower back, akami. Each part has its own characteristics, so the cutting technique is also different. the cuts along the spine and separates the fish into two symmetrical halves, each weighing 10 kilograms. When the blade passes through the meat, the cutter must keep a steady breathing rhythm, pull the knife firmly, and not stop halfway to avoid creating scratches or tearing the surface. After dividing the fish in half, it is further divided into four large parts, two upper parts and two lower parts. Flavor. The chutoro part is located between the belly and back, has a balance between fat and lean meat, and is the most popular part in sashimi because it is both soft and fragrant. When cutting chutoro, the knife should be cut diagonally at about 45 degrees to make the cut surface smooth and shiny. Ivory white fat is the most precious part. Just a light touch will melt in the mouth, so the blade must be very sharp and cut with a single, decisive line, without pulling it back a second time. During the cutting process, the worker continuously wipes the knife with a damp cloth to remove the fat, keeping the cut clean and bright. Each time the cut part is changed, the knife must be lightly sharpened to ensure perfect sharpness. The temperature in the cutting room is always kept stable, not exceeding 10 degrees Celsius, because even a little warmth will cause the fish fat to flow out. Reducing the value and flavor. Another important detail is that the worker must hear the feeling of the knife passing through the meat. The sound and force of the hand will indicate which part of the fish they are touching. When the knife passes through the fat layer, the sound will be light and smooth when it meets the lean grain. The sound of the knife will be heavier and tighter. This is a feeling that can only be acquired after many years of practice, almost becoming instinct. When slicing for sashimi, the worker often uses a yanagiba knife, long, thin and sharp as a mirror. The akami slice is cut about 0.8 centimeters thick, chutoro about 0.6 centimeters, and otoro only about 0.5 centimeters to achieve the perfect melting point when eating. Slice of fish is arranged on the tray in order from lean to fat, showing the transformation of taste and sensation, like a journey from strong to soft, from deep sea to the delicate sweetness that melts on the tip of the tongue. The skill of cutting bluefin tuna is not just a manual operation, but a blend of art and the Japanese philosophy of shikunin, the spirit of a dedicated craftsman. Each stroke of the knife is a respect for the life of the fish, a way for the chef to express his respect for the ocean and his profession. When looking at the slices of bright red tuna, interspersed with white fat that shines like marble, one does not just see a dish, but also the perfection created from thousands of hours of practice and the endless passion of the knife maker. Large trawlers typically operate on high-powered vessels equipped with modern machinery to pull the net and process fish at sea. Once at sea, they identify areas with large schools of fish through experience, positioning devices or fish finders. The trawl net is lowered into the sea with a wide mouth and a deep mesh select fish inside when the vessel is moving slowly. The two net wings open wide thanks to heavy mesh panels, keeping the net taut and fully expanded when pulled. Once the net has been pulled for a long enough period of time, the fisherman will begin to pull the net up using a hydraulic winch system. This is a stressful stage and requires close coordination between members when the net bag is pulled up to the side of the vessel. Hundreds of tons of fish, which can be mackerel, anchovies, herring or small tuna, are dumped onto the deck. The fishermen quickly saw, wash and ice the net for preservation before putting it into the cold. Some modern ships also have a quick freezing system to help keep fish fresh longer. Serving export. After the fish are loaded onto the ship and stored in the cold compartment, fishermen will take advantage of the time to rest and prepare for the next catch. Large trawlers often operate continuously for many days, even weeks, far offshore. Their work requires not only health but also experience. Ship control skills, understanding of ocean currents, weather and the movement habits of each fish species. Each person on board has a clear task, the winch operator. The net watcher, the air conditioner operator, the person recording the output, all must coordinate smoothly, because just a small mistake in the net pulling process can tear the net or lose the entire catch. At night, strong lights are turned on all over the deck, reflecting on the sea surface like a floating city. This light not only helps fishermen work but also attracts schools of fish to move closer to the trawl area. When the sea is calm, the sound of the wind, the sound of the waves and the strong voices of the fishermen blend together to create a vivid picture of life in the middle of the ocean. In that moment, despite the hardship, they still feel the simple joy of seeing the net full, the boat laden with fresh fish. When the boat returns to shore, the fish are immediately taken to the fishing port, where dozens of traders are waiting. The work of loading, unloading, weighing, and classifying takes place quickly to transport the fish to processing plants or wholesale markets. With bumper trips, joy is evident on the sunburned faces of each person, and laughter and chatter fill the harbor. However, there are also trips that encounter big waves, strong winds, or fish-scarce sea areas, causing them to suffer losses, even losing everything. The large trawling profession is a symbol of the strength, perseverance and courage of Vietnamese fishermen. Despite facing many difficulties such as rising fuel costs, climate change or depletion of fishery resources, they still persevere in staying at sea. For them, each fish pulled up is not only a material value, but also the result of sweat, experience and love for the sea, a friend that is both fierce and tolerant, feeding many generations of coastal people. As the sun rises, the large trawlers continue their journey at sea, searching for new schools of fish in the vast waves. Each time they cast their nets, the captain must carefully calculate the wind direction, current and depth so that the net opens in the right position. The operator needs to have a keen eye, just by looking at the color of the water, the movement of seabirds or the slight vibration of the wind. You can guess whether there is a school of fish below. All were based on the experience accumulated over many years of drifting in the open sea, where nothing is guaranteed except faith and perseverance. When the nets begin to be pulled up, waves of shimmering fish jump to the surface of the water, reflecting the early morning sunlight like thousands of silver balls. The whole boat is bustling, everyone is busy working, some remove the nets, some scoop up the fish, some pour ice, some record the output. Sweat mixes with the salty sea air, but joy is still evident in every eye. Some say the sound of fish pouring onto the deck is the most beautiful sound that fishermen look forward to during the trip. However, behind the full catch of fish is a lot of hardship. Large trawl nets can weigh tens of tons, and when encountering strong winds and waves, pulling the net becomes extremely dangerous. Just a gust of wind or a big wave can sweep the net and the operator into the sea. Therefore, safety is always put first. The winch, the towing hook, and the braking system must all be carefully checked before each trip. When night falls, after many hours of non-stop work, fishermen gather around a pot of hot rice, a plate of braised fish, and a cup of strong tea. They tell each other stories about home and the sea, then look out at the horizon.